Guys, what's happening? It is 8 o'clock Eastern time, 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night. That means it is time for Proper Royals Live. My name's Adam, and Proper Royals is my channel about my family's ball python journey from hobbyist to business. And tonight's an exciting night. We got Chris from BandSReptilia on the show tonight. You don't see him. He's in the green room. He'll be on in just a moment. And one of the topics tonight is sponsorship. And I wanted to talk about it for a minute because I want to make sure I put it in the right light. And I really want to make sure I put Chris in the right light. I don't want to do any disservice to him. So let me let the cat out of the bag. Chris was the very first person to sponsor or be a part of a program I'm calling the Proud Partners of Proper Royals. And it really is a partnership, and it's an effort to work together, both to build both brands. There is a transactional standpoint to it that he and I will keep between ourselves. But what I wanted to make clear was that this show is about the journey of the evolving business and the journey that we're on. So the first sponsor is an intriguing guest. What it's not, though, is a pay-to-play kind of deal. This is not me going, hey, you want airtime? Just cough up some money. That's not what built this show. That's not what got nearly 1,200 subscribers. It's not what I built my brand on. And I just want to clarify that. There's a thin line there, but sponsorship doesn't equal a spot on the show. There's not a price tag on that. Intriguing content with great people that I want to get to know better and understand and learn from. That's what the show's about. It's always been about that, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'll figure out the sponsorship thing. It might work. It might not work, but I'm not going to mess this show up over it. I promise you that. So with that being said, now in fairness, I want to bring Chris in because it wouldn't have been fair for anybody to perceive Chris in that manner. That's not our relationship. So Chris is from BandSReptilia. He's been at it since 2013. He's up in the Pennsylvania area. And from there, I'm going to let him introduce himself otherwise, and we'll kick off the show as usual. Thanks for being here. There's 14 of you. And if you haven't caught on yet, Chris and BandSReptilia are our proud partner sponsors tonight. You'll see their logo in the top right corner for the duration of the show tonight. Links in the description. If you're not watching live, scroll down there, check out all their social media and everything, and we're going to get to know them. John Inkelline, thanks for the quick $5 up front, man. That's going to pay for a couple of rats. I got a lot of new snakes I got to feed. So those of y'all that don't know, any of the super chats go to the Feeding the Ball Pythons Fund so that I can make content instead of breeding rats. How about that? Hey, let me bring on Chris. Chris, good evening, man. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing, Adam?
I am very good. I'm glad to have you here. Thanks for your patience. I usually don't usually just start the show with the guests and get right to it, but maybe we had a bigger buildup. I was like the opener there, you know?
Yeah, glad to be here. Appreciate it. Glad to be
Absolutely.
a partner.
Before we get into the business stuff, let's talk about the operation. Let's talk about you. I want to get to know your story. I want to know, what everybody in the audience comes to know. Like, we're here to hang out and talk snakes first and foremost. So let's talk about that first.
Absolutely. The typical story, everybody always been into reptiles. As a kid, grew up in Southeast rural PA and just was out catching all kinds of stuff and driving my parents crazy with bringing snakes in the house. And, it was never ending. I started to build my collection when I was about, 15 or so, when I could actually get taken to some snake shows and really get involved. And back then, it wasn't internet. You
Right.
were sending an envelope to a breeder asking for a price list.
Yeah.
And a week later, you get it back, or you're faxing them. So
that's what I was doing with baseball cards, man. You have to get an envelope that say self-addressed stamped envelope that you send off and hope to God that you get your stuff back, right?
Yep,
What year was that you were doing that?
I'm sorry?
What year was that you were doing that ish?
That was the early 90s.
Okay, cool.
That was just around when albino Burmese were blowing up and albino ball pythons were coming into the market, but it was unfathomable to touch 50 grand.
People were paying mortgages selling them, right? I mean, you can buy houses on a clutch of those things.
Yeah. So I started off with just a mixed match of snakes. I had blood pythons. I had some iguanas, a few boas, even a Savannah monitor. I kind of was all over the board. And I bred corn snakes a couple years. Wasn't successful with the boas. I might have had my first clutch of pine snakes then. And then when I got about 17 or so, I kind of started to fade away from it. Met girls and started partying and just kind of lost touch with the animals.
Yeah.
And then at that point in time, I ran into a little bit of trouble and my whole collection got liquidated. So it was maybe 35, 40 animals at that point in time. So it was for the better. I wasn't paying the attention to them that they needed.
Right.
You know, and I had to come to the realization that it just was not the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we fast forward till 2012, that December going into January of 13, my buddy came up to me and said, "Hey, I want to buy a ball python for my daughter. What can you tell me?" Because he knew I was always into them and the snakes. And I said, "Well, not really much. It's been a while. I haven't been looking or in the game, so to speak." And I went online and found fauna and king snake, and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
I could not believe where it had gone with just the ball pythons alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right then and there, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Look at all these different colors and designs you can create.
Yeah, that was my aha moment. I had some 20 years ago, 2000 to 2002 in college, couple normals, and then you'd see the one guy in town that had the albino and pieds.
He was a superstar.
I had just discovered what a pied was, and I didn't even know. I was just I didn't know it was short for piebald. I was like, I don't know why it's called pied, but they're cool. But that was it. And there was no way on God's green earth I was going to have one. I mean, you may as well have told me I was going to, buy a Maserati. That just wasn't going to be the case. So, yeah, same thing with me, although many years removed from you. But, yeah, a couple of years back, I find Morph Market, and I'm like, oh, my, holy cow, what is going on out there,
An idea that I could order a snake online and it'd be at my house the next day.
Whew. That was the other thing, too.
Holy
I was like, how does this Morph Market work? And then somebody, matter of factly, people are like, well, you just ship it. And I'm like, you just ship it? What?
Yep, absolutely.
You just ship it, man. Yeah.
So,
what part of Philadelphia, and Chris? Jeremy Warfel's asking.
We're about 45 minutes north. I've been talking to Phil, Jeremy. I'll be there April 2nd. We'll get on that topic later, I think, a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, let's swing back to that. That breakfast is a great idea, man, but we'll swing back to that.
So 2013, I helped my buddy pick one out, and then the next thing I know, we have a 5x10 room in my garage, insulated, and we have, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8. And then a month later, we have 20. And then maybe 3 months later, we're up to 40. And it blew up from there. All the possibilities, they're endless. So we did that for a couple years. And early on, it was just breeding just for the sake of breeding, to have a snake. It was cool. The monetary value really wasn't as important or as much of a, not necessity, but it's not as what it is now.
Right.
So then about 17 or 18 that year is when I really said, wait a minute here, you can actually make a living off of breeding these animals and actually doing something you are passionate about and enjoy, not just getting up and going to a 9 to 5, reporting to somebody and being miserable every day. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. Not like what you said about not having to worry about customers or orders not coming into a restaurant, that whole concept.
Yeah. And I'm probably I loved the restaurants. I'm almost to a fault. I loved them so much that my family was I couldn't get away on a Friday. You couldn't pry me away a Friday, Saturday night, and there's a lifetime of weekends that I've missed out on my son. So Yeah, I remember the screaming folks at the waiting a 45-minute wait that they're unhappy about, but we crushed it, man. I loved it, but all things considered, but that's a different story. So, but I will say, yeah, if somebody isn't happy and they truly are miserable, you got to make a change. It doesn't mean that you have to start your own company or become a ball python business person, but people owe it to themselves to seek something that fulfills them. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. Life is long, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not long. It's shorter than we all, know it is. And
we don't know how many days we got, but we got a fixed number of days on this planet. And I think about that daily. I hope it's many, but I don't know. I think about it every day, though.
We never do.
Yeah.
So about 17 or 18, I said, all right, well, we got to do something different here, because we have the same animals we had in 14 and 15, and we're just selling everything. Every year we were selling everything. And the hobby, the business hobby at that point in time was just a hobby. It was paying for itself. I bred my own rats, and everything was paying for the rat food, the shavings, the electricity, everything. And the only money out of pocket was if you wanted a new snake. So that's when we started doing holdbacks.
Yeah.
So, if it went from maybe 1 or 2 holdbacks a season to 18 to 22.
Mm-hmm.
And now the core group of animals that were started hold back then are the ones coming through fruition now, that are basically building the stock for what we're going to be producing these next couple of years. But even this year, we're still building for the future. It's a constant build.
And so how many, let's just keep it on ball pythons for one moment, because you've got, let's highlight that. Your brand is BandSReptilia, S being you, Chris Shelley, but it's Reptilia. It's more than just ball pythons. And like I say, we'll ripple out to that. But ball pythons, what's your breeding / holdback stock? What's your collection that you keep?
Well, prior to last year, we were B&S pythons, but that's why we switched to Reptilia, because the animals that we work with are not just pythons. We work with a bunch of other stuff. So that's why we went for the name change, but kept the BNS, because it was tried and true as far as we're concerned. That's what we were known for.
Right.
This year, we're looking to breed around 40 to 50 females.
Okay.
Last couple of years, we've been averaging about 20 to 22 clutches of ball pythons. The year I moved into my current house I'm at now was a bad year. Moving is always a horrible thing to do in the middle of a breeding season. And we only hit 8 or 9 clutches that year. Mm-hmm. But you live and learn. That's part of this game.
Well, and life's got to go on too. It's going to own you to an extent, but you don't want it to, anyhow, I get it. How many, one thing we did talk a lot, all transparency to the viewers. We talked a little more than I usually talk with guests, but that's that partnership aspect that we'll talk about later. But what we didn't talk about, what do you see as kind of your specialty? What gets you going on ball pythons? What are you proud of that you're working on or that you've created? What's like your sweet spot on ball pythons?
Well, this year and last year, we really started steering a lot more towards the recessives. At first it's the codoms always seem to be a little bit more manageable, and they're, easier to produce, and everything happens the next year. Recessives, you got to wait a little bit. You got to build up them hets and stuff. Not everybody can go out and buy double recessives or triples or sometimes even single recessives, depending on what the morph is.
That's right. Yeah.
So, last year and the year before, we were really building up our multi-codoms. So like some 4 or 5 gene females that are just good codoms that we want to work into the recessives we're getting into. So, we have clown. We're not too heavy into clown. I kind of started on that a little bit late because, I don't know, part of me feels that the clown market is very saturated, but I love them.
Clowns are almost like, I don't know what the analogy would be, where it's almost like you can't have too much of a good thing. I realize mathematically at some point we can, but I use I use the number of followers that Barcheck's got 3 million followers. Until there's 3 million people bored with clowns, I think they're going to be popular, man. And then somebody's going to have figured out something else to put in them to make them exciting again, you know? So I think clown's going to become, or is maybe already, as much of a base gene as Pied.
Absolutely.
I think it's right there. Maybe it's the number 2 as far as like influence and when you see it, just that true, like, whoa, that's completely different, you know, not good or bad, but a new set of eyes that has never seen a ball python, that sees a normal and then sees a pied or sees a clown, goes, that's the same thing. Like all the other genes, I can tie back to how the normal looks. Those two, totally different, you know?
Pied trumps everything. You have somebody that doesn't like snakes, you show them a piebald and they say, what?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So clown, pied, that's a staple in our collection. Last year we ventured into a lot of double recessives.
Yeah.
Toffee genetic stripe. That's one I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I say so. Those would be great, man. Those striped peach colors and pinks. Yeah.
Yeah, the oranges are insane. He's breeding an Enchi clown, so hopefully we're getting some. I hate the term, but Kiki balls. I don't know who named it that. That's the genetic stripe clowns.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
I don't even know if I've seen those yet. I'll have to check that out.
Garrick DeMeyer is really heavy into them from Royal Constrictor Design, and they're wild. And then getting the toffee in there, that's
yeah. He was one of the guys that actually I really look up to. He's not that there's anything wrong with him. He's really just not very bombastic. It's just, here's what it is. Here's what we do. I got to get back down to business and on I go kind of thing. And I don't know. My wife's from the Midwest. He's a Midwest guy. Maybe I just click with Midwesterners. I don't know. But I like his style. I like what he does.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from day one, back in 2013, I remember looking at his website and there was groups of clowns, a 1.4, I'm like, I just never got into it. And you think about what if, but.
Oh, it'll drive you nuts, right?
But it wouldn't be where you're at now, though, if that what if,
that's
changes.
true. That's true. That is true.
Good where you're at and, happy with that. Another big one this year is Desert Ghost Pieds. Desert Ghost Pieds. I'm sorry. Let me refrain from that. Oh, so another triple recessive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Long road, but it's definitely worth it.
So do you have any visual doubles right now that you're working to make these triples with, or there'll be possible triples?
No, we're making triples, doubles. Yeah, we're making triples and doubles this year. So we have a visual DG Ghost male.
Okay.
Visual Toffee genetic stripe.
There you go.
We got a
visual. You have a Toffee genetic stripe already?
Yeah,
cool. Real cool. Okay. I got to dig deeper into your Instagram then, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
It's slowly building.
Yeah. Very cool.
Candy. We saw the picture of the candy. We got some of that working.
Okay, so talk to me. I've heard you say candy and toffee. Are you of the separate line mentality on that, or talk to me where you fall on that?
Well, here's the deal. As we both know, it's the same thing. Candy and toffee are the same thing. What an animal is sold to me as is what it stays labeled as.
Very good. I got you.
A banana, it's labeled as a banana. You get a coral glow, it's labeled as a coral glow. Do I think they're all the same? Yes.
Right. And
so to you what, break down the genetics.
Right. Really yeah. And they are, obviously there's variables, variety within genes quite a lot. So I would buy into what you're saying in that they can lean towards different traits, but they're going to behave the same way and genetically behave the same way.
Absolutely. Kind of yeah. They're compatible. I just sent 41 skins off to Heidi. So I'm excited about that.
You, man.
And we have a pretty heavy yellow belly spark complex in our collection. So she got a lot of good stuff.
She, as far as I know, Hannah Seidel.
I'm sorry, Hannah. Yeah. When I said Heidi.
Yeah. I posted an email that I got from her on Instagram not too long ago. She is ready to publish yellow belly complex. I'm going to call it a genetic map or genetic code, whatever the conclusions are that she comes up with the exception that her peer review group wanted to see one more. I think it's a super spark. I would have to look. She was looking for anybody that would send a super spark, and it's on my Instagram. So if anybody has those, though, get her that last one, because she is about to publish. She's about ready to is ready to publish the full yellow belly complex map.
Yeah, I sent her a super spark.
You did?
I sent her
nice.
Super spark, super pastel spider. Yeah,
I will. I'm gonna. I'll enter. I mean, I'm sure you could go find her on Instagram just as fine. But I'll let her know that it's on the way from me, and I'll tag you in the note as well.
It should be there by now. We sent them out over a week ago. So
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna talk to her tonight then about that on Instagram. I don't like call and chat with her or anything, but So John Inqueline asked earlier. And I'm sorry, well, we got a little bit of a break. Inqueline, Mark, and Bosa, thank you all so much. I did see the super chats come through. We were just on a tear with the good content with Chris here. I also want to say thanks for there's a whole lot of new faces in there tonight, and I'm assuming those are coming from Chris's group of followers, or if you've just stumbled on the live, thanks for being here as well. I want to tell you all thank you. I see you. And even if I don't see your question immediately, I'll try and come back around to it. John had asked earlier how long it takes to get Dr. Seidel's results back. I got a confirmation email about 2 weeks ago, basically just her saying thanks to me personally, I think because she was on the show. She reached out to me and said, hey, I got your sheds. John, I haven't seen or heard anything since, and I actually don't know. I have no idea how she reports them. I'm hoping that there's a cool, at least email, but I don't know. She might just call and tell me. I'm not sure. She's in the business of science and seeking facts, not in the business of branding and certificates of authenticity or NFTs as I envision it or anything like that. So I'm not sure. That's not her, as much as I want it to be, that's not her responsibility. She'll let us know the facts, and then we'll take it from there. But I have not, John, I have not seen the results just yet. What's up, Guy? Thanks for saying hey tonight. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. So, all right, Chris. So you said we left off. You are not only into and exploring, you are well on your way of recessive building blocks. How do you envision your recessive projects going? Do you want to work those codoms in? Do you just want to focus on the recessives and doubles and triple, stacking recessives, or do you want to do it all?
I'm working a broad spectrum, a little bit of everything, but there's certain codoms that I really want to see in certain single and double and even triple recessives. So
tell us about that. What's your dream, got to see it kind of thing, or got to make it? You got to be able to do it.
Yeah, Cypress is a big one.
Okay.
I really want to get that involved in some certain things. It really intensifies the intensity of a lot of things. Albino, for one, just a simple albino. If you put a Cypress in that, it's like getting a super high intensity albino.
Wow.
And then you mix that with a couple other things, and it's good. Black.
So to clarify for anybody, Cypress is a codom, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is Cypress, and I'm sorry, because I don't follow codoms nearly as much as everybody else, and I certainly am not up on the nicknames of all the the various genes and the various nicknames. But I've heard that obviously Desert Ghost is on fire, and everybody's thrilled about that. You could see Kai at Lucas Landon Royals is excited about Cypress as well. Yes. But is Cypress the one that kind of has a similar effect genetically and visually as Desert Ghost, but you get it from a dominant perspective versus a recessive?
No, it does lighten it up, but the one that they're really comparing to that is the lace and the super lace,
right.
Which
That's
is
right.
White lace.
Okay. And so Cypress is brightening in what way? And brightening, I mean, I got the albino. It provides some electricity to it. What more can you tell us about it?
It just really crispens the whites come up are cleaner on the sides. The patterns are just even more outlined. It's like a lightener, cleaner / gene, almost like your fires, your vanillas, but
Got it.
it's just I just think it's way more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blackhead, that's another one that we're very heavily getting into.
Yeah, in my recent pickups, I just picked up 2 blackheads, a male and a female. They're a breeding pair, het genetic stripe, both of them. I don't know. Maybe the gods will be with me. The moving gods were against me last year. I moved in the middle of breeding season last year. Maybe I can recoup some love in the form of a super blackhead genetic stripe. That'd be pretty money to slam one of those.
Let me know.
I'm going to learn from you, and I'm not going to sell everything. As much as I love commerce, oh my goodness, I would love to sell everything. I will.
That's tough.
I will keep that one. Now, if I got a male, I would sell the male breeder I have, I think. Although I might wait a year just to make sure the little one was ready to go. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'll get 2. How about that? Maybe we'll get 2. We'll work it out then.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing you got to come back to is having extra males.
Right.
And
right.
do not sell the male if you know you might use them the next season.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You know, we get these great males that we hatched and we think we can get them to go in a year and it's everything we want. But if you sell that male that created him and that 8-month-old male doesn't want to breed, guess what?
Yeah.
Losing a season if you got rid of that backup. So backups are a big thing, man.
Yep. Yep.
Even if it takes up room and you really want to work that project, find room for them.
So hit us with a few more doms and co-doms you want to get into some recessives.
Let's see. We got pretty many going through the collection. We have the pinstripe. That's in a few things, but I don't really have a focus on anything I really want to get that into. Black pastel. That's a big thing in our collection. Yeah. Hopefully we have a chance to hit some pandas this year. So
cool.
That would be exciting. You know, het red xanthic. That is one that I feel is very underlooked.
I know Justin does a lot with it. I know he's a huge fan of it. What do you see it with? What do you want to work with it on?
I definitely want to get it into the Ghost Clown project. That's another double recessive that I'm working hard on is Ghost Clowns. And just the het red and then anything to intensify that. I mean, even if you go to the super form, the red xanthic in a Ghost Clown, I think is just going to be very intense. And then from there, build on it. You know, if you lose your darks, get some blackhead in there. Yeah. I mean, the possibilities are endless, I think. Enchi's another big one.
Yeah. I definitely have it. Enchi's, I don't have many codoms, but Enchi will be in quite a lot. I'll be pushing that a lot through.
Enchi should have been called GHI because you got to have that.
That's right. Good call. Good call. Hey, King Cardano, I saw your comment. Let's catch up offline on that. Hit me on Instagram or send me an email. Let's connect. I love to chat with you. You know that stuff's up my alley. I think I tonight's probably not the night to go down the NFT rabbit hole, but let's catch up on that. So tell us about what other animals you got going on? So ball pythons we talked about. What are the kind of the ripples effects of your business as well? What's the rest of the reptilia?
Well, the ball pythons we're sitting at around 140 to 145, give or take. Yeah. And that's, there might still be one or two things down the road want to add this year yet. But that's where they're at. And then from there, boas. Boas are another thing that really interests me because they're difficult to breed. Yeah.
I don't know anything about boas, but what bumps do you see in the road with them for yourself?
Temperature and control and just trying to keep them going. Like ball pythons, they're kind of textbook. They'll go off food and they kind of cycle around a certain time. I had Dumeral's boas that were cycling for me, and either a couple years they either slugged out in October, or I got a good litter in October.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they just throw you for a loop. I think this year I think I barely paired the one, and I couldn't even tell, she ovulated or anything, because they're a little bit of a rounder animal, so to speak, than the ball pythons.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
mature ones for sure. Yep. Yep.
So that one threw me for a loop, and it just, I don't know, they always kind of keep you on your toes, I should say. The one year I had a litter of 20 some boas with my Nicaraguans. And the next year I thought, man, that took a lot out of her. I'm going to give her the year off.
Mm-hmm.
And before I know it, she started cycling, and I didn't even get the male in there soon enough. And she laid all slugs. So whether it was a food deficiency because I wasn't feeding her quite as much as I was the year before, because I wasn't trying to breed her, but the animals, when they know, like, if they're not going to go, they're not going to go. Mother Nature knows what she's doing.
That's the beauty of what we do, but it's also the hardest, like, business part of it. You can make all the right decisions, you can make the right choices, smart investments. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And that's not like almost most other businesses anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So we got some Tara Hermarum boas. They're a small mountain boa, probably one of the smallest. My adult female is maybe 4 foot.
Okay.
And she's looking very swole, which is a great sign. Refused eating, so I'm very happy for that. That'll be a new one for us.
Yeah.
Costa Ricans, they're looking pretty good this year. Peruvian longtails, that's a new one we're working with this year. We have a light phase and a dark phase. Dark phase is looking very promising, so that'll be another first.
How do you, from a business standpoint, how do you see the business or the market for some of those more obscure snakes? So less awareness, but probably less competition. How do you see that translate? What do you base pricing on, et cetera, et cetera? How does that stuff go?
Well, I follow a couple boa guys
on
YouTube, and Morph Market is an incredible site to use for just seeing what's out there and what's around.
Yeah, amazingly powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if nobody has any on the market, you just kind of go with what you feel is, fair. That's the one thing about, you have some people that will put a snake out there. Let's just say, for instance, like a Peruvian boa, that you don't see them too much right now, at least some of the localities. And just because you don't see them doesn't mean that that's a $4,000 snake.
Yeah,
there's some type of
doesn't make it
attachment to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel you price things that seem fair to you and the time you put in to produce that animal.
And I think you can always, if you want to or willing to, you can always get the message across that, hey, this can be a conversation starter versus a demand. Like we can figure this out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's switch to some of, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off the animals. So boas and a variety of pythons. Any amphibians? Any lizard reptiles?
No, lizards are a lot of work. You need to feed them almost every day, and I like to travel. I like to go away for the weekends with my family and do stuff. I hunt a lot, so we have a camp up north.
Yeah.
If you have a lizard or something that demands that, it's tough. We do have 2 tortoises.
Okay.
But, we also have dogs, so we have somebody that house sits for us, luckily.
Yeah.
But they don't have to take care of the 200 snakes or the shed full of 1,000 rats.
Right. Well, so let's talk about this business. One of the themes of the show is relationships, and then today talking about this business step that I took for myself, but it involves you, and that's another key point of having you on tonight. So for those of y'all that don't follow me, I started this channel November of 2020, so coming up on a year and a half ago, and I started this show very late last year. So I'm 3 or 4 months in, and the show is doing really well. The channel's doing really well. Breeding season's well, and I'm looking more and more closely at growing my business opportunities. And sometimes business opportunity is code word for revenue streams. And it's not just about greed of money. Revenue, I said it a little bit tongue in cheek, but I mean it. The quicker I can pay for rats, the more content I can make, the more people I can meet, the more platform time I can give to people like Chris, and the more I can focus on my snakes, which are at the end of the day, the snakes are the answer. The ball pythons are the answer. And yeah, I like to dream like everybody else. What if I didn't? I happen to really enjoy the circumstance I'm in right now. I have a pretty loose schedule, and it's my own world of consulting and advising as far as my professional career goes. But if I didn't have to do it, that'd be even more exciting, So I put these little benchmarks and goals for myself. So I play music for a living or for professionally. And my goal each month is to pay the mortgage with music. Okay, got that taken care of. Then I would need the ball pythons first to get into the black to start with. I need to get profitable on that. This year will be a very surprising year if I don't do that. I gotta go back to the drawing board. But I'll make a penny this year, and I would like to make a lot of pennies. But if I can explore things like a sponsorship, if I can explore things like monetizing ad revenue, if I can explore how to sell snakes via YouTube and Instagram, it's all part of the learning journey and the networking. And so I had thrown the idea of sponsorships out there, and Chris reached out to me. He said, "Hey, let's talk." And we did. And there's a lot of neat lessons in there, and I'm going to ask you about a few of them because I don't know the answer on some of them, but I'll tell you, everybody, I'm not going to get very extremely specific on what Chris and I worked out, but I'll tell you one neat thing that evolved from it is that Chris and I very quickly graduated from just a flat financial discussion to a discussion of, what can I do for you? What would you expect from me to Chris? What would you expect out of our arrangement? And how can I bring value to you as your business so that whatever value you bring to me in the form of a transaction is worthwhile both ways? And once that question came out of my mouth was just the aha moment of saying, man, that's the answer. Whether you're a server at a table, a bartender behind the bar, you got to ask your guests what they're here for. What is your customer after? You're not going to sell a 20-year-old scotch to a guy that just wants a beer at happy hour. You're not going to sell shrimp cocktail with horseradish sauce to the 7-year-old kid that wants chicken tenders. So, at that point is really where we got down to it seeming like a real business partnership. And that's what inspired me to call it the Proud Partner Program as well. Phil put it really well. He said mutual enrichment. So, Chris, if I could put you on the spot, and this isn't inherently me fishing for compliments. I've already taken it as a compliment that you want to do business with me. I got that part. But why approach me other than I had thrown it out there? I mean, Gershon has his own show. Petzotics has their own show. People have their own shows. What was it right in the timing here and now for you and me?
It seemed very beneficial on both ends because, like you said, you didn't have any sponsorship or a partnership, somebody to support you in different ways that you had not known yet. And when I stumbled to your channel, I really enjoyed how you portrayed yourself and articulated everything in your videos. And, you having the restaurant back business, I felt really related to you because I was in the restaurant business for 21 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same, I don't know, not mental look on things, but in a way, kind of.
Yeah. And I get it. And I used to hear it all the time. Now I say it all the time. I didn't quite believe it before. YouTube will help you find your tribe. Like the broadcast ability that YouTube provides some dude like me sitting in a garage with a pink light on him is unreal. And you know, the quantum leap from Morph Market back to, you know, the magazines with the self-addressed stamped envelopes, that's what I feel like we're experiencing right now. Even 10 years ago, I could not have done what I'm doing on this platform in this way. So I'm just perpetually in awe of that after working in more than one, but many restaurants. And for restaurants being my tunnel vision for 25 years, this whole scene of business is like this overload playground. I'm just like, okay, what else can I learn? How else can we do it? You know,
it's very stimulating.
It is, and it's cool. And the success is hard to define. I made a video. I lost money last year, so it's hard to call that successful. But the gratification of the proof of concept of selling an animal, the proof of concept of having a sponsor and sponsorship partners. And I use a plural now, Gershon as well. The video that I put out today, Gershon sponsored, and he and I have a little arrangement as well. I was going to let this one marinate and simmer before I just go announcing another one on Instagram, but Gershon's got an announcement coming up too. So there's very cool things, you know, and here I am sitting here. So I'm really happy about it. And I just want to tell you thanks publicly. It's a cool landmark for me to reach. I appreciate you having the faith in me on it. For your own business, what landmarks, what benchmarks do you have for your own business, your own goals? You said you have, you know, a total breeding stock of about 200 animals. Is that something you want to expand? Will you cycle out your breeders as you feel they become obsolete? How do you look at that?
So yeah, this after this season is going to be a big season of cycling out. We're not coming towards the end of it, but I'm coming to a point where a lot of them backup males are not doing anything. I didn't use some of them this year. So this season, once girls lay and get back on food and get healthy weights and everything is good, I'm definitely going to be making some transitioning because I could almost fill another 50-40 or 55-40 with what you just picked up, that style ARS rack with juvenile females that will most likely be ready next year.
Right.
So I do have to cycle a few out because as far as a number goes, we're pretty capped right now.
I wanted to ask you about that. How do you, and I know every person's resources and situation is different, but you pretty well explained it, but there's a line between growing and widening things to just vertically going, all right, I have X number of spaces and how am I going to strategically maximize those spaces, you know? And that's where I'm going to be for the foreseeable future. I mean, I'm out of square footage. I could go up a little bit over my incubator and my hatchling rack, but really that's about it. So it's going to be a narrow focus for me for a little while.
It's going to happen quicker than you expected. Trust me.
I'm sure it's going to happen this year. I'm going to have really hard decisions to make this year because I could potentially be in the neighborhood of 70 hatchlings if all the ones that I'm breeding go. So that'd be a fine problem. I'll figure it out. I love the expression, we'll figure it out. And I don't use that expression just, you know, willy-nilly. Like I believe in myself that I will, but I'm really not at the point to make an investment to totally temperature control the whole garage right now. That's really not where I want to be.
Give it time, grow into it. Trust me.
Yeah, right. I want to do that I want to have that conversation in 5 years time, or look at a rental space or another problem or another property in 5 years time. Not crap, I got to do it next year. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, absolutely. Our main room is about 11 by 11 and it's in the basement. And that's what holds the ball pythons. It holds the blood pythons, the boas, the majority of warmer species animals. But we also work with a lot of pine snakes and bull snakes. So they're kept out in the main basement room, which has no heat. So I keep the ball python room at around 80. It fluctuates in the summer. It'll go up to 86, 87, winter sometimes 78. But the other room, that's where all the North American species are. So they have their individual heat lights or heat panels, but they're very seasonable. So that's the beauty of them. And beginning of November, they go in the corner of the basement for 3 months. I don't have to clean them. I don't have to feed them, nothing. And then they come out February. When do they come out? November, December, January. Yeah, around middle of February, give or take. But so they all just came out 2 weeks ago. So now I have another 20 mouths to feed. And they eat twice as much as ball pythons do.
Okay.
Man, you feed them one day, 3 days later, it's out. So yeah, it gets busy, but it's very rewarding with those as well.
Everybody's got sorry, I'm a little distracted. I want to say thanks to everybody watching, everybody in the chat. I'm pretty sure they were trying to troll us. Somebody came through with a couple smart dummy comments and like nobody responded to them. And that's the best thing ever. Like that's the best audience. That's the best kind of people to hang out with. I just got to say cheers to everybody. And I appreciate it. That makes me, it tells me I'm among my people. That's killer. So,
I didn't even notice that.
It's stupid stuff, you know, like trolls forget I got a 9-year-old. Like I could put up with some dumb stuff. Like that doesn't faze me, you know? And no, I could have kicked him out. I didn't even block him. I'm like, no, let's see what happens. Nothing happened. Good. So that was great. So what is what's your angle? What do you do to provide food? Do you breed your own rats? You buy rats? You order them? What do you do?
We breed our own. That is another extension off of BandSReptilia.
That's right. I forgot to ask you. Yeah. And you got two kind of extensions. Talk about both of them, please. Let's get a little platform there.
We'll start with the rodents. Rodents, it's Rich Hill Rodents. Got a 10 by 20 shed out back, all hooked up, insulated, split unit running it.
200 square feet of rats.
Yeah. We'll just throw some quick numbers out there. I pull on a regular 33 to 35 females a week, which isn't a ton, but if you do the math and there's an average of 8 to 10 babies per litter, just an average. Some might have 16, some might have 8.
Right.
You know, that's a good number of rats a week.
And I'm sorry. So and I'm an idiot when it comes to breeding rats. You say you pull the rat. That's pulling the mom off the litter, separating mom from the babies?
Correct. I run maternity tubs.
Okay.
So basically in a breeding group, we have roughly, I had to jot some notes because of the numbers. We have roughly 381 breeder females in rodents, and then about 100 maternity tubs. So every week I'm pulling about 33 to 35. And then on that third week, they all get pulled for a fresh set to come in.
And they're pregnant when you pull them, or they already have had the babies?
Either or. They either already just had the babies or they're pregnant and I pull them.
Do the babies go with them?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. They go with the mom and the mom stays with them for 3 weeks.
I'm sorry. So they're in a colony tub.
Correct.
Babies are on their way or babies come. You pull them out and then it's just mom and babies in a separate tub.
Yep. I find that to be a lot more productive because you can count how many you're pulling out. You know if it's a good or bad mom. If she eats them all, guess what? She's out of rotation. If, she only has 5 or 6 babies, then, she's either at the end of her breeding road or something else is wrong.
Yeah.
But every 9 months to a year, we switch out breeder females. So every month I'm rotating 35 new females into the breeder program as well, just to keep the stock live and breeding healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on average, we're pulling anywhere between 300 and 400 rodents a week to go into either the freezer, into my snakes, or to the people that I sell rats to locally here.
Yeah. And when you say we, is that you and the family? Is it you and another partner? Is it a staff member? You hire somebody, an employee?
I wish. I need a little I need somebody that wants to do some internship for rats. So if anybody out there wants to clean some rat beds, we got plenty. Right now it's me. Solely.
All right, so you are we. I got it. Yeah. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So what's your, I mean, I'm sure you could talk for 2 hours on it. What's the 30-second kind of daily work cycle for you? I mean, you got to have, I mean, of all of it, I mean, wake up till, 9 at night doing spots on Adam's show. What are you doing? I mean,
well, Tuesday nights are usually my rat night, but I got that all done yesterday and earlier today. I spend about, let's see, hour wise, I would say a good 10 to 15 hours a week out there.
Okay.
And that's split up over Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, Saturday mornings. It depends if we're going away. I get more done Friday. I work kind of part-time right now. So luckily I'm home Monday through Thursday, Monday through Wednesday. I stay home with my boy. So that gives me a lot of time to clean snakes, work on certain things. I can't really do a lot of rat stuff with him because the pneumonia in that shed, or the ammonia in that shed from the rats, is, even with fans running, is unbearable. Right. I have to wear a full respirator mask when I'm in there cleaning.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's overbearing.
Yeah. And I have, man, somebody was joking earlier and not trolling, totally tongue in cheek fun, saying, I just get Adam on some Claritin and he can breed some rats. Man, this rack that I have was at the opposite end of a facility that had rats in it. And man, I've had the fans going in here trying to air it for 3 days now. And this is my office desk for my day job as well. So I'm in here and just like feel myself like, itching, tingling, swelling a little bit. So I have a real tough time with the rodent rooms. I was in checking out Jeremy Baud's facility, and I'd never been inside of a Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had never been inside of a rat room before, and I was in it, and it was off camera. But Jeremy's just going. He's excited. He's talking about plumbing. I was like, Jeremy, I'm done in here, man. I'm about to fall over. I'm about to need like a pen in the neck so I could breathe, kind of thing, or in the throat. So yeah. I'd have a rough go with them. But okay, so all right. Without specific numbers, if you want to share this, totally, you could be like, man, I don't want to talk about that. Without sharing specific numbers, what sort of share, split, or pie slices of revenue are, like, what percentage of rats is your business versus snakes as far as revenue goes?
Well, last year was when we really hit the rodents hard. I was running out of an 8 by 14 foot shed, and it just wasn't enough. I couldn't keep up with feeding my animals, let alone feeding whoever I had to sell to. Yeah. That's the beauty. Somebody buys a ball python with me local. Guess what? I sell rodents. So now I have a new customer.
There you go. Okay. The built-in longevity revenue. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So not until this really, I'd say fall was when we really started cranking, and that shed was at full capacity. Right now, the rats are on their way to bring in more revenue quicker than the reptiles, I should say, because you're kind of seasonal with the ball pythons, which is something that's changing this year. I'm going all year. The only thing that's going to be seasonal is the colubrids, which need a slight brumation period. Mm-hmm. Whereas your ball pythons, 6 months after a female lays, if she's up to weight and building follicles, guess what? She's going to breed again. Yeah. So we're going to be going to year round. So come August, if a girl is building at 10 millimeter, 15 millimeter follicles, she's going to get paired whether she lays in October, December, or January, the beginning of the next year, just to keep that constant revenue coming in. Because at the end of the day, I mean, let's face it, we all want to do, not all of us want to do this for a living, but this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do.
I was just saying, to be really clear, this is it. This is you. This is what you do for a living.
Correct. I like I said, I do work part-time right now, and we're going to be going through some work changes in the aspect of our life, me and my wife. It's revolving. Some things are going to change. So I might have to pick up full-time work for a little bit
Right.
here and there, but you got to pay your bills. You got to do what you got to do.
That's right. You got family, you got home, you got animals. Absolutely. No, there is not any, if there was any judgment in my voice, I absolutely am a proponent of what you're saying. Like, it sounds amazing to go, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to figure it out. You got to have a whole bunch of money to do that. And you got to have a medical plan as well, because we all can go bankrupt in this country without that plan in place. And I don't want to turn this show into that either. That's not my point. But
easier nowadays.
But yeah, I mean, it's very important. So that's where I have always kind of hedged mine. People are like, well, when are you going to make it your full-time thing? And I'm like, I don't know if I ever will. I'm not going to step away from music. I've built that brand and that does well. And I always want to stay relevant in restaurants, because if all else goes to I can wash dishes. I can wash the hell out of some dishes, and I can't provide the life I'm providing right now, but I could live and still make it, as long as I stay relevant in restaurants. So that's where I'm at. Plus, this is going a little bit off track, but for other people to consider, from a credit and financing standpoint, if you don't have a history of revenue from your businesses, getting any kind of credit, taking advantage of changes in interest rates or market fluctuations on property, it's almost impossible. Hell, a car loan, it's almost impossible to do without the backup of at least 2 years of revenue claimed on your taxes. That's another reason why you got to be upfront and above water on what you do. If I explain that to another bartender or server in my life, my head's going to explode, where I'm like, man, I know it's tough and I know you want to pocket everything, but you're going to need a car. You're going to need an apartment. You're going to want to buy a house. You're going to enjoy this life that you're working so hard for. And so all of those things considered is why I still keep, even myself, there's days I'm like, why am I doing all three? I'm hitting it hard on all three of these businesses. And it's for that. Plus, I get bored doing the same thing over and over. So right now, I'm not doing anything over and over. Every day is three things at breakneck speed. So
you got to get it while you can.
That's right. That's right. And I will always take pride in being the guy that worked hard versus being the guy that threw in the towel and just slaved it away. So
took everything from the government.
or just hated what I was doing day in and day out. I mean, I have respect for people that hate what they're doing because they're still making it. They're getting by. But I don't want to be that guy if I can help it. And I'm lucky and thankful and grateful not to be. So anyhow, enough of my philosophical chatter. Hey, the audience, there's 40 of you out there. We're coming up on the 1 hour mark. We got good momentum and steam going right now. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, throw it up there while Chris and I are still chatting and working our way through things. So we talked about the rats. You got one other new venture that you are heading into right now.
Yeah, super excited for this one. We're going to be Pennsylvania's distributor for the chipper, which is a cocoa from D Exotics. So right now we're the PA distributor, but I'm working on taking up the whole Northeast if he lets me.
Okay, and so a couple questions. So just in case anybody missed it, PA is the Pennsylvania distributor. And tell us about D Exotics, the background there, and then let's talk about the product itself once you cover that stuff.
D Exotics, he's out of Stuart, Florida. He's about 4 hours, I think, from you, south.
Yeah. I like to say Stuart's the last place where like reality exists on the east coast of Florida, because then you hit Boca and it's fun, but it ain't planet Earth, man. It's a crazy town from Stuart on. So Stuart's like the last bastion of reality on 95 as you're heading south.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I was talking to him, and I wasn't happy with the current cocoa I was getting, and things just weren't changing, and it was across the board. you know, it just nothing was happening. Many people complained, and then there was a guy up here that ran a local show, and he was like wholesaling it for a brick, like what we would get cost for.
Oh,
And
okay.
that makes us all look bad. And
Right.
it wasn't a great situation. So I talked to Chris Davenport from The Exotics, and real down to earth guy.
I'm sorry to slow you down just a second to go back. So the business arrangement wasn't good if they're clearly selling it at different prices and undercutting your price as a distributor. So they're not standing by you. What about the product of it? Let me play devil's advocate. You know, cocoa husk is cocoa husk. You got the coconut. They bang it up and box it up. What am I missing here? Why do I care about the chipper versus any other? And we don't have to name other products, but why do I care about the chipper versus any of these other products?
Well, Chris made it so that you don't have just one option. You know, if you want to spend the bottom of the barrel, $15 on a block of cocoa, you get a block of cocoa, but you're going to get it not raw, but not really refined. So you're going to get some dust. You're going to get some shake at the bottom. It's a dirtier material at the end of the day. He has that block, which is your standard block. That's like everything you see, your Pro Cocoa, all them other guys.
Okay.
He's refined it down to a red and a plaid label. So your red label is your base. Your plaid label is going to cost you a couple more bucks, but it's refined more. So you're getting less dust and it's a bigger chip. So it's like a 12 to 18 millimeter chip that rather than just your strands and a lot of like fuzzies, so to speak, in your cocoa.
Yeah.
And he's also offering an even more refined, which is called Cocoa to Go, which we will also be distributing, all three products. The Cocoa to Go is a triple rinsed bale of cocoa. It's equal to 5 standard blocks, but it comes in one big bag and it's pretty much loose, ready to go. Fills about 3/4 of a 55-gallon trash can, can almost do a whole 55-40 rack with one of these bales. And it's big, chunky, and there's no dust, no dirt, nothing. So he really refined it, and he's just very in the business aspect of everything. You know, he's willing to do promotional things for us. He's willing to put like certain levels if you hit out there for how much cocoa you move. Right. Flying down to Florida to some, I'm not sure if it's the NARBC shows down there or Daytona and stuff like that. So he's doing more, not only to move his product, but he's looking to really enrich and help the people out that are moving the cocoa for him. Well,
as it should be. I mean, that's a stronger partnership for sure.
So that's why I feel it's better.
Well, good. And as in anything that you're representing or selling, as we've kind of been the theme of the show, that we would want it to be. We would want it to be. It sounds redundant. We want it to be what we want it to be. It's got to be what we would stand by and put our own names on. And again, I never know where people's own journey is. Why cocoa in the first place? Why say I'm here in Florida. I'm kicking 55% humidity inside. What do you like about why do you choose cocoa?
I choose the cocoa because I like the way it clumps and just the consistency it is. I have a few buddies up here, breeders, that use almost like the Sani chip, but it's a real light, flaky chip. It's not aspen or pine, but it's kiln dried. It's very absorbent, but just the whole cocoa, I feel it's a lot more natural too. I mean, let's face it, ball pythons spend the majority of their time underground in a termite mound. So I feel that it clumps better. And for me up here, it definitely holds the humidity.
Absolutely. I mean, that part of it is anytime you got really any forced air, but especially forced heat is super dry air. Yep. And out here in my garage and reptile, my snake room, I really don't use any forced AC. I will in the summertime a little bit, but so mine's fairly. I was telling you, I use a little bit. I don't make a bed of it. Now for my breeders, I do. I let them nest and that kind of thing. But by and large, I use some for some humidity, and if I'm lucky, they'll go on the cocoa, and then it's a cleaner cleanup and all that kind of thing. But I don't use nearly as much.
A comment here to Hales Balls. The cocoa to go does come slightly hydrated. That's the difference. The blocks you do have to hydrate, but the cocoa to go in the bale, you can cut that bag open and go right with it. There's no breaking up of a dry bale. And then Jared, if anything you add too much water to is going to mold. I don't care what it is. So the key with cocoa is you add as little water as you need to break it up, because you can always add more water to your cocoa. If your cocoa's too wet, you're never going to pull that moisture out unless you bake it in the sun for a day. So that's the key. A lot of people think that the cheaper cocos will mold. It's not necessarily the concept, because it all comes compressed and dry. The problem is if you add too much water to it, anything's gonna mold. Yeah. I don't care whether it's the chipper or pro cocoa or reptile.
From a restaurant experience, I can grow mold on a lot of things, man. Or it will.
Without even trying.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of that, before we move on from specifically from cocoa, and we got a good question here from Jared as well. How do you recommend storing it? Say somebody comes into 10 blocks of cocoa, and it's going to, that's a year's supply of cocoa for a lot of hobbyists. How do you store it? How do you avoid it getting that moisture, that mold? We don't want anything to fester in the cocoa. How do you store it? What do you recommend on a bulk storage?
So it comes dry. So as long as you keep it dry and in a bale, you're fine. Mine is in an outside carport, so to speak, and it's out of the elements. It still gets cold, it still gets hot, but it does not get wet, and there's no moisture buildup in that cargo tent at all. So as long as you keep it in a dry place, it's not gonna mold out. If you put it on a wet piece of cardboard or a wet piece of wood, you put it on a wet pallet, yeah, it's gonna soak it right up because it's a dry material. I mean, that's like with anything. I break it up, I add the water to it, and I usually let it sit for a couple days before I use it. So you do have to be kind of prepared with it. And if you let it sit, you can kind of judge how much moisture you have in it. And even if you put it in your tubs dry, when you go to do your breeding, dump half your water cup on it. It's gonna dry out with just a half a cup of water on it, or good mist, a good spray with a mister.
Yeah, I spray mine down, and I prep mine for anybody wondering on a smaller scale that wouldn't dream of a 55-gallon drum of cocoa. I use a 5-gallon bucket, and again, I go back to restaurant stuff. It's an old pickle bucket from a little secret. If you ever need 5-gallon buckets, go see your local burger joint. Say, you got any pickle buckets? And they're everywhere. They are freaking everywhere. Pickles come in a 5-gallon bucket. I'm going to take the sheen right off. Let you look right inside the back here. They come in 5-gallon buckets, and I use that, and I actually use press and seal on the top. So I'll prepare my cocoa. To your point, I leave it a little drier than I think a lot of people would. I don't do the submerged block on mine. I bust it up, and then I add water and break it as I go. And then I spray it. I give it the spray down when I put it into the tub, as well as the paper underneath it, and that's what I use on there. So. Okay, so enough on the cocoa for a moment. Jared Wood says, Chris, what have you found has been the best way of marketing your business? And I'll add to that and say businesses. Is there one way for one angle, one way for a different angle? Think about that. What works best?
At the end of the day, consistency is always going to be your best friend. If you do something one way, I just continue to do it that way. Great customer support. reach out to people if you haven't heard from them in a while. I mean, I know that can get kind of, if you get too large, you don't have the capacity, then you get too busy and you can't always reach out to somebody. But consistency, don't, just don't treat the people any other way that you would want to be treated to as a customer coming to you. That's the best thing.
I agree. I got two really quick examples of just, I would say, just don't on that level. And some of that's not necessarily marketing, although it all is marketing. That's all part of your brand building. But yeah, the customer service aspect, from a business standpoint, you got to treat every person like they're going to be the home run hitter, and knowing that most people are not ever going to be, and that's okay. But you just don't know when they come through. There's a lady that lives just south of me here. She's bought a few snakes from me. Good, consistent buyer. Not, she buys the hets, a pastel het, maybe an inchy het kind of thing. But she saw the video I put out earlier today, and she called me. She says, "Adam, I just bought 9 snakes. What are you doing with your old racks?" Yep. And like, sometimes you just put it out there, and good things happen. And to your point about how people would want to be treated, I had to be careful how I put this because it's going to make me sound ungrateful. I'm very grateful. I sold a snake on Morph Market last night. 82 messages to get this deal done.
That's a lot.
But it came from a place of care. Some of it came from a place of me saying, this is not how I'm going to ship this animal. I will give you your money back if you don't like it, or we could do it this way a day later. And we came to a conclusion on it. And she's going to be thrilled. I'm thrilled for her business. I sent her a picture this morning because the snake shed. I was like, boom, there's your boy. He's pumped, and he's going to go out tomorrow. But that's where, like, we always say you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work with the people too. Not just, I mean, the people are the hard part. The snakes. What's the worst the snake's going to do? It's going to bite you and it's going to poo. That's the worst the snake's going to do. Like, that's it. That's
guaranteed.
That's guaranteed. Right. Not only might they do it, they're going to do it, and it's the worst. That's their moves. That's it. So, right. The people are the tough part, myself included, and
any business.
Yeah, any business. So, what talk to us? What platforms do you use to get your brand out there, to socially interact with people?
Well, like I mentioned before, up until 17, 18, we were just running Facebook, just getting it out there. And it was basically just something fun to do. And then, that's when I really made the change and started treating it more like a business. And that is when, we really started looking into other things. Facebook started, IG. We ventured into TikTok a little bit, but kind of faded out. TikTok is goofy. You got to flood that system with videos and just hope to catch a couple that hit the certain algorithm and take off.
Yeah, I never could find my rhythm, so to speak. The hard work didn't scare me so much. There was a point in the pandemic I was producing almost a video a day on YouTube, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Like, that's 3-4 TikToks a day. But I never got I wasn't hitting my audience. I wasn't connecting. Whereas on YouTube, I could see on the metrics, it was like, all right, feed the monkey, man. Let's keep it going, man. Let's keep it rolling, So, and that paid off. But Instagram, I'm starting to get the feel of Instagram right now. TikTok, I never got it.
Right. And I definitely feel that the other thing, back to Jared, like what to marketing your brand, besides consistency, is your longevity, and also to be involved. Get on a lot of lives, get on a lot of podcasts, and just talk to the people in the comments. Just from coming on a couple of your lives prior to all this building, I built a relationship with 5-6 guys in my local area that I had no idea were even here.
That's right. And that is Tell us about this breakfast you guys are cooking up, man. I'm like, how do I cannot go, right? I just bought a rack and a bunch of, I can't make it from Jacksonville to PA for breakfast, but
come on, it's not till April 2nd. You got plenty of time.
Well, but in all seriousness, it's a fantastic other example of like the wide net that the internet and that YouTube can cast. But damn, if it didn't get you strangers from Pennsylvania together and turn you into not strangers, you know?
Yeah, I believe Phil from Finger Snakes and Jeremy from Warfles.
Yep.
He's I believe those guys are headlining it or putting it together or whatnot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. But yeah, at April 2nd, it's out at a smorgasbord breakfast out in good old Lancaster, out there where the Amish are. And,
yeah.
They cook a good breakfast.
Hey, man. And well, you know, obviously. So how many people how are you all is this like just a word of mouth? Is there a Facebook sign up? Is there I don't know, some other platform? How many people are y'all expecting?
I'm not sure the numbers part of it. I'm trying to bring out 4 of the local key breeders that I'm very, involved with. DTMG, he's a great guy that's local. Infinite Possible Pythons, hopefully he's coming. Seventh Serpent. There's a core group of guys that we conversate a lot and are close to, and hopefully we can extend that out to some of these guys we're going to meet down there. So I'm hoping, I think it's going to be a big turnout.
Well, I mean, if one person is bringing 4 people, I mean, that could turn into a sizable group real fast, especially just for a get together over coffee, man. That's a lot of people all of a sudden.
Oh, it's not just coffee. This is homemade sausage gravy. This is the works.
I meant,
muffins, bagel. Hey, you name it. It's
suddenly breakfast got serious as soon as I said over coffee. I like that, man.
You're real serious,
like,
man.
Pies, they're pretty good, but let me swing something to you. It's more than coffee for breakfast, all right?
Right.
Hey, Straight Blast Python says, just starting on social media here, any advice for post content for small breeder? I feel like I'm already getting repetitive with my small collection of snakes since I'm only in my first season. Look, that is everything that my channel has ever been since day one. So Straight Blast, I'll give you my stats up until 10 days ago. Sorry, that was my bug zapper right there.
At least you didn't jump like the other.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting better. Oh, that Warfels broadcast was. I mean, I jumped out of my chair on one of those things, man. So Straight Blast, just keep doing it. I can't tell you what you're going to be able to produce the best. What I can tell you is keep working at it. Some of them are going to suck. Some of them are going to be amazing. And watch your metrics, watch your views, watch your subscription, watch your subscribers, watch your engagement level. And even if you don't know why, I still can't define to this day what my perfect video is, but certain things hit and then I pull off of that. So like today, and I still try stuff new. So today was one of the first times I ever posted a video with me just holding the camera in front of me. Like I thought it looked like hell. Performed pretty good. It performed well, got a lot of interaction. The engagement level was very high on it. So I filmed another one. I was like, you know what? I left them hanging. Nobody knows what the room looks like. The whole video was about what I was doing to the room, and I never showed them. So I was like, all right, let me fire up another one where I'm doing it myself. What I'm saying is the more you do it, though, the more you're going to learn. There's going to be something that you see in your video and you go, the lighting looks horrible there. How do I fix that lighting? You're going to fix the lighting. So next time you're never going to worry about the lighting again. And then following time, you're going to go, I should look right here so I can engage with people rather than looking right here where it's less engaging. And you're going to start doing a million of those little things and you're going to get good because you keep going and your collection's going to grow. Your excitement's going to grow. A new season's going to come. You're going to get a lock that you're through the roof about and you're going to broadcast how pumped you are about it. And you're going to hear 20 dudes like me and Chris go, that's amazing. And you're going to be like, damn right, it's amazing. So
that excitement alone.
Yeah, get going at it is what I'll say. So that's my thoughts on that.
I can add to that a little bit. I'd like to see a lot more local small scale collections. So if he's getting bored with doing videos on his, reach out to people in your area, see if you can do a 10-15 minute video on their collection, interview them. If you feel your content's getting dry, go out for a couple shows, weeks or whatever, and then come back to yours and hit something. I think that's a good way to do things too, I feel.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I agree. Any way that you can collaborate. I started this show as a way to reach people that I respected immensely and really learn from them. So it's become a platform where people can learn from the show, but a lot of it is driven by the guests. The other thing that I really, and I meant to put this on my first little blurb there a moment ago, YouTube has turned into this amazing place where people could just share their journey and you don't have to be an expert. You could just be the normal guy next door. Yep. Is it easier to relate to the dude next door that screws up sometimes, or to set the expectation that you got to be Brian Barczyk tomorrow? Because if you set that expectation, we're all going to fail, because he's amazing, and that's fantastic.
And he still learns every day.
Yes, he does.
This year, I had a snake drop eggs for me 2 weeks ago. I didn't see her ovulate. I did not think she was going this year. You always learn something new, always.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'm excited about that. I wish you the very, very best, and I want to see it. Type in your YouTube handle so that we can all go check out your channel and hopefully help you out a little bit tonight as well. Yeah, please do put that in the comments. Chris, what's next? Oh yeah. We got to talk about the
US Ark.
US Ark. Why don't you kick this off and I'll jump in along the way.
So I'm sure everybody, well, mostly everybody, some of my viewers might not be involved as much. And I think if you have 1, 2, 3, maybe even 10 animals, and you're not really breeding and selling or in the market as much as, say, somebody who has 70 like Adam, or 200, or even 25 in your breeding. US Ark is a great organization that is helping us keep our rights, basically. And it's not just reptiles that they stand up for. It's the certain laws that are trying to be passed against not only reptiles, but I believe fish. I mean, everything but cats and dogs, I think, is a big target right now. And to be quite frankly, I think if you have somebody that wants to ban all animals from people keeping and doing what they want with their animals, how out of reality are you as a human being to not want animals in your life or think animals should be in your life? When I show my son a snake, he's 22 months old, man, his eyes light up and he just wants to be all in there with it. And even after getting bit, even at 22 months old, he is still just as happy to see that snake or have it around his neck every day. And, everybody says, donate to US Ark, donate to US Ark. And yeah, the monetary value of giving them money is next to none, because we all know legal fees are not cheap. Trust me. I've been divorced once. So it is something that, yes, we do need to donate to them. But more importantly, we need to be members. We need to show numbers and members. You go to court and they look at the case that US Ark is trying to fight, excuse me, and they say, oh, you guys only have 2,000 members. Next, you come to court with a member base of 1 mil, 1.5, a couple 100,000. Then they stop and say, oh, well, wait a minute. This isn't just affecting these crazy snake guys. We got fish people involved now. The list goes on. So yeah. Even if you have 1 or 2 snakes, be a member. It's $40 a year for the membership to be a bronze member. If you can spend $100 on a snake, if you can spend $2,000 on a snake, $40 is a drop in a bucket for your rights.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll take a little bit of a different spin, although 98% the same. US Ark is essentially a lobby group that advocates for the rights of specifically reptile owners, but they do work hand in hand with especially lately, I'm going to get to that in just a second, But they work hand in hand with other non-traditional, which snakes have been pets for a long, long time. Where what's really galvanized things is in the past 6 weeks, part of the America Competes Act of, it must be 2022. There's an amendment in it, or in addition to it, it's really an economic bill designed to level the playing field with America and some foreign competitors, and that's fine, and that's a cool agenda, or not. I'm not here to argue that. What was added to that was an amendment to the Lacey Act, which is the interstate commerce laws that govern animal trade across state borders. And the proposed legislation, hear me now, if you're wondering why your $40 is important for USARK, hear me right now. This law, as has been passed by the House, it's in the Senate that can be passed and go to the president's desk if they were to bring it up to vote. It's in, I forget the legislative process, but it has passed the Senate, or the House. It's been passed on to the Senate. It says that any animal that is quote, captive wildlife would automatically be put on a blacklist and then could be petitioned to put on a white list, which may as well be called a green light, not a white list, and then be sold across or travel across state lines. If you live in a border town like Jacksonville, Florida, where I live, and there's a great vet in Brunswick, Georgia, if this law passes, not only can you not sell your animals at all, you can keep them, you'll be grandfathered in, but you cannot cross state lines. If you have to move for family health, for a job, because you want to go to Colorado, no. And it's a federal law, so it takes out the rights of states where, again, I don't want to get into the argument of whether it should or shouldn't be, but I could understand the concern of South Floridians going, maybe we don't need any more Burmese pythons in South Florida. Again, I don't want to debate yes or no, but I guarantee you nobody in Minnesota and Minneapolis needs to have that debate because they're not viable there. Well, this law would be an umbrella law over the whole country. And that's what USARK is working on now, but that's the big federal one. They keep an eye on all of these legislations on state levels and on local levels. And this crosses party lines. This is not partisan politics. I could tell you it's a Democratic agenda bill right now, but the legislation was written and taken from wording from a Republican senator's submission last year. And that's his agenda as part of the Democratic bill. So this is not me ranting and raving one way or another, and I have no desire to do that on here. So anyhow, there's our pitch for USARK.
Yes.
I know we've all heard about it, but I'm a huge believer if we stop talking about it, they win. So I got to talk about it. Even if it's to 37 people 90 minutes in that I'm grateful that you're here for, please do what you can. If you ain't got $40, I get it. I've been there where I ain't had $40. Doesn't cost you anything. If you have internet, you can email your senators, go to the USARK page. It's free. They'll put you in touch with your senator. You don't have to be a member. They extend the courtesy to you without being a member. There we go. Go ahead.
Real quick. I'm actually thinking this year for the majority of my sales, especially if they're new keepers coming into the hobby, I am going to either offer to split the cost or take the money out of the price of their animal and buy memberships with their animal. So if you're buying a snake from me and you're new to the whole thing, we're going to have a talk about USARK real brief, and I'm going to try to get as many members as I can signed up just from the sale of snakes this year. It's something I'm really going to try to spearhead.
I would also advocate maybe that let me flip it. For the new people, that's the amazing thing. For the amazing established people, I would advocate, why don't you go ask your CPA, hey, this is my tax bill this year. I'd rather not give it to the government. Guide me in how I give this to a great cause because I feel that I'm being threatened and that USARK can help me out. So how do you see from a CPA larger amount of money? So there's volume in numbers, but sometimes there's just volume in volume that just happens to be a big amount of money. So I think it can go both ways. And if I'm fortunate enough to have a tax bill from revenue next year, that will absolutely be one of my questions for my CPA on there. So let's go to one more. Snake question here. Jared again asks, do you find more value in the new incomplete DOMs that are high cost but can produce faster, or going the slower recessive route? For example, confusion versus ultramel.
Me personally, I feel it depends on what you enjoy working with the most. So at the end of the day, you got to think about
some too. Yeah, go ahead.
You produce a clutch of 5-8 eggs. At the end of the day, let's just say none of those animals sell. Do you want to be stuck with a codominant that you don't enjoy, but just because you can produce it the next year, you want to be stuck with that? Or do you want to actually produce things that you enjoy to look at in your racks, aside of the monetary value of what they could be worth to be sold? But at the end of the day, recessives are always going to hold their value. I feel for the majority.
Yeah, I think just mathematically it takes longer and is harder to flood the market. If flooding the market is even a real thing, but let's assume that it is.
Look what bananas did.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit harder to crash. You see, let's say, for example, pieds. We were kind of talking about them earlier. You know, I hear that pieds are played out and this and that. They don't crash. They might up and down a little bit, but right up until somebody puts something new back into them, then they shoot up again, kind of thing. So I would agree on that, and I would say there's always that fine balance of what do you love and from what makes sense from a business standpoint, and then where on that spectrum matters the most to each individual. A lot of people probably don't have the aim or the immediate goal or the urgency that Chris has, even more than me, because he's well further on his way than I am. And clearly I've kind of laid a stake in the ground of what I intend to do and what I plan to do. So, but yeah, for me, I lean heavier towards the business side, and it just so happens that I'm really, really far more intrigued by recessives than I am dominants. So for me, it's an easy answer because I think it checks both boxes, with the exception of some classic genes, you know. So that's my take on it. Chris, talk to us about any last thoughts for the evening. Where does the future go? What do you want people to know about you in closing? Where can they find your animals? When will they find your animals? Where will we see you next? What's on the horizon for you?
I mean, in the long run, I think the future is incredibly bright, with everything and the laws that are at stake or whatnot. I just feel that there is way too much support out there that this is going to hurt us in any way. They already tried it, and it might have thrown a little hiccup in the gears, and rightfully so for certain states. But I think the future is very bright, especially with the ball python investment side. It was not affected. I mean, you look at when the pandemic hit, you couldn't keep animals in stock.
You talking about a boom time. Holy cow. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nuts that year. And I mean,
and that was me as a buyer. I wasn't enjoying the boom time as a seller. That was me going, oh my gosh, what have I been missing out on? Like, it was just, okay, Adam, you need to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, like we discussed before, if you don't have patience, this isn't the business for you. You can learn patience from it, but it definitely takes time, and it's not something that you can just come in and turn a key and make a ton of profit the next year. Now, granted, if you're, somebody who's coming in with a huge bankroll and you know, you hit a bunch of the top end stuff and go, you can make some money, but at the same hand, your feet are going to be wet. You're going to be fresh into it. So people are going to look at you and be like, well, who's this guy we've never heard of trying to sell a $8,000 animal? Who is
the other
this?
challenge? Yeah. Yeah.
So you definitely got to take your time and not necessarily build slow, but just, you know, make smart moves and wise decisions, and definitely always enjoy what you work with. That's the key. Like, don't just go out and buy a genetic because it's pulling, you add it to clown and it's pulling $10,000 an animal if you don't like that gene.
That's right. I mean, I don't dislike this gene, but I know this is sacrilege to say I don't really get Desert Ghost a whole lot. It's cool. I'm down with it. I know people love it. It's just not, it's not high dollar excitement for me. So I haven't invested in it. Plus, I'm at pretty much a terminal velocity right now, what I can handle. So chasing the hot financial gene right now doesn't make sense for me and what I have to work with. So let's see. I got to keep an eye on this, and I'm sorry, I've got to wrap up. I got to give my wife a kiss before she goes to sleep. Oh yeah, Phil saw it, man. I've been attracting the bots and trolls tonight. You know, you got something good when they're staking you out tonight. Yeah, I've been playing. I've been playing a little bit of referee. I let that one go by who was harmless, but I've had a couple others that I've been like, oh no, okay, bye bye. So I got to say. Good night to everybody. Mark 403 Fauna says there's a new recessive that's going to be unveiled from J Royals at Daytona this year. I will be at that. That is cool. I'm going to go check that out.
When is that show?
Daytona is August 20th and 21st.
We're going to be down 2 weeks after that.
Dang. Oh, man. Yeah, it'll be 20th and 21st. And I'll be down there. I'll be certainly hanging out with Jeremy, but I might even see if I can work with him, not to sell my animals, but to sell his, just to get a feel for it. But he and I got something cooking for that show. I'm going to let him announce that. But Chris, I want to tell you, thank you so much. It means the world to me that you had the faith in me to align with me and specifically with Proper Royals. And I hope I do you proud, and I hope that you and I are the test subjects for bigger business, hopefully for us both. Like I say, I want it to go both ways. I hope you go, man, I cannot wait to find the next person to sponsor or to go bang down Adam's door because of the value that he brought to the brand. And that would make my day. And that I want it to be both ways. So thanks so much. Thanks for letting me pick your brain tonight and for coming on the show and creating some content for me.
Thank you just as much. It's greatly appreciated both ways, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my pleasure.
Hopefully in September we can catch up, maybe catch one of your live gigs. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, September might be high time for hatchling. I might be doing nothing but trying to find extra minutes. I wasn't joking. I was serious with my wife. I said, you know what? I think late summer and early fall, I got to leave my calendar open. I'm going to have I don't know what I gotten into.
I'll come over and help you clean.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We'll clean. We'll talk about restaurant days.
Make sure the beer's cold.
Yeah, that's right. I will gladly. I'm always good for some cold beer or ginger ale or anything else, man.
I really want to clean some tubs in that sweet sink you have.
Come take a ride on the sink, baby. Yeah, get the sprayer.
I want my picture with it. That's great.
If you guys haven't seen it, check out my Instagram, my video. Maybe I'll do like just a weekly sink. Check out the sink.
That thing blings, man.
Thank you so much, man. It's an old, those of y'all that haven't seen it, it's an old commercial dish pit sink that I've got in my garage because I'm kind of a restaurant whore. So, all right, guys, thank y'all so much. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you to everybody. I'll see y'all next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, like every week here on Proper Royals. Thank you all very much. Good night to you.